Hello everyone, this is a tutorial on how to draw a roses sweet wrapper using the three-step process: shape, detail and tone. Of course, it's always best to try to work from direct observation, so if you have your own sweet wrappers, that's something that you can then work towards. But this workshop is a way for you to build the right skills and the process for you to then do that direct observation drawing with confidence. So let's get started. You'll notice here that I've got the image that I'm working from, and I've just folded it slightly so that I can place it above so that you can still see the image that I'm working from as I'm drawing. So the first thing in the process is shape, and that's always the best way to start. Unless we're using the grid method, then shape is the first step. So what I want to do is I want to get the basic shape, and I mean very, very basic shape, onto my page first of all. Now I'm going to need to press a little bit harder than I normally would, just so you can see this clearly on the camera. But I suggest to you that when you're doing shape, you always do it very, very lightly with a very loose hand. So you're drawing and you're moving your hand like this, and you're never anchored to the desk and just simply trying to move and draw like so. Okay, so really try and relieve the pressure and just do it as loosely as you can. So the first thing I'll do is draw, very basically, a rectangle. I can see that these lines, sort of because of perspective, these are slightly further apart than at the top, so I will make it a little bit wider at the bottom. So we've got a rectangle, that's our starting point. And then we can see that these shapes at the end, they're a little bit like semicircles. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a semicircle at that end, and I'm going to draw a semicircle at that end. Okay, that really helps me then with the next part, which is simply a case of drawing a line between the two semicircles, just showing the central part of the sweet wrapper here that's a little bit smaller than the parts at the side where the wrapping is sealed. As you can see here, they've got sort of corrugated marks. That's where they're heat sealed. That's how they're manufactured. Okay, so I'll do the exact same on the underside. And this is all very, very loose and basic to start off with. All of it can be adjusted so that it's much more accurate. We'd expect to have to change a few bits as we adjust and look at our drawing. Okay, so fairly happy with the shape, so I'll rub out some of the outer lines just so to make it a little bit easier for you to see. And again, you can rub out these lines as well so they don't put you off. Right, now I'm going to get in some of these vertical or near to vertical lines that show the flat edge, which is this heat sealed part of the pack, and then obviously this is coming up into 3 dimensions here, and we can see that there's quite a dark line that runs across here, and that shows us the 3-dimensional sweet that's inside, if you like. That helps us to see that shape. So I've drawn a line here, and this part is flat. I'm going to do the same on the other side, like so. And now I'm going to draw in this darker line that helps us to see the 3-dimensional shape, like so. Okay, so far so good. Now what we can do is we can put in some more of these lines that are going to help us to bring to life the three-dimensional shape. Now these lines here all exist due to reflections of light on the surface of the very shiny wrapper. Now reflections are quite difficult to draw. Okay, they are very difficult. This isn't an easy drawing by any stretch. This is challenging. But what reflections do help us to see is the three-dimensional shape of the object we're drawing. Because of course the light's bouncing off in certain ways simply because, for example, here the light is in a strip here, this is lighter, and here because this part is raised, and these are the edges before the wrapper goes down to the flat part. Okay, and they just help us when we draw those, help us to help our audience imagine that this isn't just a flat image, this is actually a three-dimensional object. Okay, we've got to try and bring it to life. So what I've done here is I've just started to draw in some of these lines, and that's what you now need to do. That's the next step. And you can see here, and I'm doing this a little bit heavier than I would like to, again, for the purpose of the camera, but I'm outlining where all these lines are. I'm not worried about tone at all at the moment, because I'm still simply working on the first part of the process, which is shape. Okay, so I'm going to just come back to this side now and add a little bit more detail on this side. So I'm going to add this heavy line that catches my eye here. And we can see that it turns, it comes up here, and it is underneath this S, okay, like so. And I'm going to draw the other side of it. Okay, and I'm going to draw the other side of it there as well. I'm not worrying about the lettering at the moment. Okay, just trying to sort of show the basic shape. And then we notice here that there's a little notch in the wrapper. So we're going to draw that in. Okay, and then I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So there are 8. So we need to just try and make sure we get them about the right size. So you could split that in half and make sure you've got 4 in that side. And make sure you've got 4 in the other side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Notice these are a little bit larger, and that's just simply because they're closer to our eyes. They're closer to the camera when the photograph was taken, so they are going to appear larger. So again, if you split it in half, you know that you need to have about 3.5 in each. So they need to be a little bit bigger, something like that. Again, this can all be adjusted later on, but this is just a way of mapping out the basic shape first of all. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Again, if I split that in half, bring about 7.5 in there, split it in half again, it's going to be 3.25. It's a bit tricky, it's all getting a little bit too fine to do, but 3 and a little bit over. Okay, if you do it like that, you know you are going to have roughly the right number of, I don't know what you'd call them actually, it's sort of a pinking shape. So pinking shears is when you cut in a zigzag. I'm sure there is a technical name in the world of design, product design and packaging design. I'm not quite sure what that is. So that is step number 1, which is shape finished and completed. The next episode will show how we add the detail, the second step.